Blog Talk Radio.
God, you are great and you are worthy to be praised. We will praise you all our days. We are your students. Teach us your ways, word by word, page by page. In the Hebrew we say, Elohim, אתה גדול ואתה ראוי לשבחים. אנו נשבח אותך כל ימינו. אנחנו התלמידים שלך, ללמד אותנו את האמת שלך, מילה אחר מילה, דף אחר דף.
It's Talk One's Talk. Talmadim. I just wanna get the knowledge. Wonder how they got it. I see a different message in the pages and decided to get the understanding that the Father had prescribed them. I'm thinking that it's very concrete. Show us we will listen. Show us and we listen. That they took can't change. Context is a must. Any artist can paint, contain your vision, trust. Moving the picture around like an auction, getting bucks off you often, cause you rush from a lost sense in your customs and your ways to the most high is appalling, yeah that's us. And here's the reason, the cause of it's the gist. Who exactly we pleasing, the Father or the race? He set apart, Talmudim wrote his word perfectly, but we often want to change according to our own belief. All we gotta do is read, dig a little deep, learn a little Ibrit. Ha-ha, Royal Shabbat Abba, Eloheinu Aga. All praises to the Father for bringing our knowledge further indeed. Kid, I can't start from the beginning and read and make sure it's not preconceived, the man.
Welcome to his Talk One's Talk, where our mission is and has been from the beginning to contextually read the scriptures from the understanding from the people that wrote it, letting go of preconceived notions and any doctrine that hasn't been consistent or doesn't line up. This show is without bias, with the goal to grow together as a family. The call-in number is 516-595-8238, and we are open to any questions or comments. Shalom.
Shalom. This is Season 2, Episode 17 of the Reset Button here on his Talk One's Talk Radio. So today we're going to be going over the last 3 chapters of 2 Kings. That is 23 through 25. Today we have Yosef HaOrech Din and Shema Ben Yael, along with myself, which today I am the facilitator for the show. And as we always do, we're going to start off with opening statements. And I guess I'll begin and be followed by Yosef and then Shema. And then after that, Shema, you can go right into your chapter. So today I just want to say I'm glad. It's a good feeling to be back. And I'm just ready to, I guess, go through these last 3 chapters, close out this book, and prepare for the new season. You know, I got high expectations for the next season. But before we get to the next season, we have to do the reunion show. So make sure y'all tune in to that next week. But other than that, man, I'm just really excited to see what these brothers have to bring to the table, especially Brother Shema. You know, he was so eager to grab the first of the last 3 chapters. So, you know, I know that the story of Josiah is something that he really has talked about a lot, even before we even started the show. You know, the character of Josiah, or the person, the king Josiah, you know, he always talked about him. So I just want to see what he got to bring to the table today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I will render the floor to Brother Yosef.
This is Yosef, and just want to welcome everybody to another day of the reset button. I'm so glad we're actually getting out of Kings. I'm going to be rolling into a book I've been waiting patiently to get into, which is Isaiah. Is going to be next after the reunion show. Chronologically, I guess we would say, instead of going into 1st and 2nd Chronicles like most KJVs render, we'll be going into Isaiah. And we won't end another season until we get out of Isaiah. That was one of the things we wanted to implement. I'm also excited to see the new changes that come about. We'll be changing mission statements. We'll be upgrading some things, and we'll be doing some things a little differently, trial and error, seeing where we come from. So even next week, I'm excited for next week because we get to see where we stand and all this extra stuff. So I think as the ball starts to get rolling more and more, we're growing. You know, I see growth, and that's why I'm excited about next season more so also because of the growth that I would like to see and see where we came from. As far as this show, I want to see what Shema got too. You know, Shema's on the highlight right now. You know, busted out. So I'm excited to see what he got. I'm glad to have Yeti back, and that's about it. We're gonna get the ball rolling and do what we do.
Shalom, everyone. Shema Ben Yael, Dalmigo. Man, y'all putting a lot of pressure on me, man. You know, what if I don't have a lot of stuff? But y'all got to excuse me if I cough in there. Work in a cold warehouse, so I don't know if it's starting to get to me or whatnot. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm pretty much on the same boat as these fellas. I'm actually going into Nevi'im, or the prophets, a little different than I used to. You know, people used to get excited to go to the prophets to foretell the future in a sense of the, from a sense of the, Kadashah, the New Testament. But me, I'm going into it a little differently this time, because what I've been realizing through context that we've been going through is the Most High has been warning Israel on things that was going to happen to them in the future, but not so much the future as to New Testament as I've been learning, more so in the future of their current state, captivities, kings that they're going to be encountering from other nations. It's going to give a more historical background for me this time, and that's what I'm looking forward to, especially in one of the biggest books known to anyone that studies the scriptures or used the most, and that's Isaiah. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and this is a good day to close out the last 3 chapters. I'm excited to see what they have as well. I don't have a lot Like he said, I like the King Josiah. He's one of my favorite kings, so it should be interesting. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and get started. If it's okay with these fellas. So before we go into chapter 23, a little background of the previous chapter. That's when we are sort of introduced to King Josiah. And when I say sort of, you'll see why I say that. Because we had a little precursor before this. But this is when we start to see this young king, right? And this young king, it was said in a previous chapter that he did what was proper in the eyes of Yah, following the ways of his forefather David. He did not veer right or left. Now, these two brothers, Yosef and Yah, brought out good points prior to this chapter, showing what that truly meant. Because we see that, he did part. Well, he was a part of, meaning within the body of people that were not doing things that was that great in the eyes of the Most High. So what did the Most High mean right here when it said he did what was proper in the eyes of Yah, following the ways of his forefather David? He did not veer left from right to left. What they had uncovered and revealed was more so with idolatry. You did not see King Josiah participating in that. Okay, and towards the end of the chapter in 22, we see that one of the Kohanim, or priests, presented something to Josiah, and that was the Torah, something that was not really present with him. Last week Murphy was bringing out that, it's a chance that the priest probably did have it, but just didn't want to present it in front of the ruling king at the time. That probably would have been bringing it off with his head if he would have presented it. So that was a good take. We appreciated that take. But Yosef, as he had brought out, I believe, it really didn't show that contextually, not to say he was wrong or right, he could have been right, but we wanted to just go straight off this, and this tells us that they found it in the temple, and at that time, they was constructing it, doing some repair to it, okay, and you can find that in verse 5 in chapter 22, 5 and 6 and 7. So, once he saw this, or read this, or got the Torah read to him, he was very vexed, I guess, for lack of a better word. And he sent for the prophetess, sent some people to the prophetess to get an answer, okay? And at the end of that chapter, the Most High, through the prophetess, let him know that he will not see any evil that he's going to bring upon this place. Okay? So now this goes into chapter 23. So at this point, they have the scroll or the Torah, and he's gathering his people, right? Verse 1 says, the king sent out and gathered to himself all the elders of Yehuda or Judah and Yerushalayim or Jerusalem. Verse 2, the king went up to the temple of Yah, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, as well as the Kohanim and the prophets. Kohanim is priests, and the prophets, and all the people, from small to great, and he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant that had been found in the temple of Yah. That's what we were speaking of. That's what me and Yosef was bringing out. Again, it's not to say Mercy's thought was wrong. It was a good take. Verse 3 says, the king then stood at his place and sealed a covenant before Yah, to follow Yah and to observe his commandments and his testimonies. I just wanted to pause right there. It's important that we pause right there, y'all. Wow. Okay. It's important that we pause right there because I know I'm reading a different version. I don't know what it says in KJV. Matter of fact, I would love for you, dear Yah, to read it, and then I would love for yourself to read. I think he might be reading from the scriptures. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's the reason I want y'all to read this. Now, verse 3 says, the king then stood at his place and sealed a covenant before Yah, to follow Yah and to observe his commandments and his testimonies, his decrees, with all his heart and all his soul, to uphold the words of this covenant written in this book. And the entire people accepted the covenant. I really wanted to pinpoint that his testimonies part. Okay, because remember, we're going out into Isaiah. It's a script used heavily to pinpoint and point towards the future. When we're saying right here, this is speaking of past. Correct me if I'm wrong, fellas. Y'all could jump in right now before I continue. Do you see where I'm going with?
Yeah. So just to let the people know, based on what you wanted me and yourself to do, in the KJV it says testimonies as well. So, and I showed somebody before, like a long time ago, that it was something already recognized as testimonies or the testimony. You know what I'm saying? Back in the older days, the ancient times. So, you know, that's something good to point out, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Again, I know.
you know, the ISR don't say testimony, but they say witnesses, which is the same thing, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because I have parsed that verse, and that was one of the words that I could have used, witnesses. Yep. So definitely good that all of those are on one accord. Okay. I want to go ahead and go to, and I know I do a little different than these brothers. I like to read that verses sometimes to bring it out. I know they do as well, but I'm just explaining if there's anybody listening now wondering, why is he reading these verses like this as well? Okay, so I want to go to verse 4, and it says, the king then instructed Hilkiah the Kohen Gadol, or the great priest, the Kohanim of the second rank, the priest of the second rank, and the gatekeepers, to remove from the temple of Yah all the articles that had been made for the Baal, for the Asherah, and for all the hosts of the heavens. Now, this is interesting because I remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, Yah was bringing something out as far as the hosts of the heavens. Okay, and we're going to see that right now. Jump down to verse 5. It says, he also dismissed the priests whom the kings of Judah had appointed to burn offerings at the high places in the cities of Judah and in the surrounding areas of Jerusalem, as well as those who burnt offerings to the Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the constellations, and to all the heavenly hosts. Did that pinpoint something you was bringing out 2 weeks ago, I believe it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was making a point.
Yeah, so I would just point out that when it says host of heaven, it's talking about the sun, the moon, the stars, the planet, and all that. So they were involved in worship of that. Not, when you see that term, it's not talking about like angelic beings that, you know what I'm saying, we see later on, or we see talked about in scriptures that's in the form of a man and all this stuff like that. So when they say host of heaven, when you go back and you look at Bereshit or Genesis, you go back, you look at when Moshe was speaking of what they should not do when they get into the land, you see that it's talking about, when it say host of heaven, it's talking about those things that are mentioned here in this verse 5. And not talking about worshiping angels or whatever you want to call them.
That's right. Did you have anything before I go, Yosef? Continue, I mean?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we can jump down. So he's speaking on that. He's talking about the removal of these, what they was doing, the worshiping of these, the moon, the sun, the constellations, the all, right? So he's putting this stuff out there after making this, or they accept this covenant. He's getting rid of these things. And one of the things, I'm not sure what it says in KJV, I always speak of, say, common people. Now, the definition is a little different than what I assumed it to be in verse 6, okay? It says, he removed the Asherah from the temple of Yah to the Kidron Valley outside Jerusalem. He burned it in the Kidron Valley and ground it to dust, and then scattered its dust over the graves of the idolatrous common people. This is just me speaking right now. I don't know what it says in the KJV or these scriptures, but I always used to say, you know how people say, man, that's common sense, right? You know, to me, I don't personally, I know this is outside of the Bible, right? But I don't personally believe in common sense, because I think that everybody, I understand what it means when they say common sense. It should be common, you know what I'm saying? Something that everybody should be aware of, used to do, or, you know, accustomed to. But I recognize that everybody operates differently, you know. And honestly, I'd rather be uncommon. And when I read this, and it was talking about common people, and it attached the idolatrous to common people within them, I was like, So I wanted to see what these fellas had. That's a question of mine once I'm done, you know, just keep that in mind. What's your thought on this renderance of calling the common people idolaters? So let's go down to verse 8. So he brought all the priests from the cities of Judah, and he defiled the high places where these priests, verse 8, used to burn offerings from Geba to Beersheba. He smashed the high places at the gates, and the one that was at the entrance of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which was situated at one's left when entering the city gate. But the priests of the high places were not permitted to ascend altar of Yah in Jerusalem. Rather, they would only eat unleavened bread among their brethren. Now, these were the priests that was doing wrong things in the eyes of the Most High. You know, so he's carrying out something at this point, and we're going to see that as we continue to go down. Hold on, let me see where I'm at in my notes. Feel free to jump in if anybody wants to while I get this situated. Okay. Now I want to jump down. I want to jump down all the way to verse 15. Okay. And verse 15 says, also the altar that was in Bethel, the high place that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, built, with which he caused Israel to sin. Why did he cause Israel to sin? You know, we've been figuring this out all the way to this point. Yourself been bringing it out a lot. I've spoken on it a couple of times. Why is he causing them to sin? He's creating idolaters, the idolatry within this nation. That's what they was doing. This is what Josiah is removing at this point. We're going to see that we're almost there. But that's what he's getting rid of right now. So he's causing them to sin. Also, that altar and its high place he demolished. He burnt the high place and ground it into dust and burnt the Asherah tree. This is Josiah. Verse 16, Josiah then turned and saw the graves that were there on the mountain, and he sent men to take the bones out of the graves, and he burnt them upon the altar and defiled it, in accordance with the word of Yah, which the man of God who had prophesied about these events had proclaimed. Okay, so where is this at? This is a prophecy. He's doing something that the man of God had proclaimed. So we got to go back. We got to see this. Let's go back to 1 Kings chapter 13 real quick. One of the things we want to do, we want to revert back to see what it's speaking of. And when you go to 1 Kings chapter 13, which is connected to the 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 16. So 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 1 says, Just then a man of God came to Bethel from Judah by the word of Yah, while Jeroboam was standing atop the altar to burn incense. Verse 2, he called out to the altar by the word of Yah and said, Altar, altar, thus says Yah, behold, a son will be born to the house of David. Josiah will be his name, and he will slaughter upon you the priests of the high places who burn sacrifices upon you. Human bones will be burnt upon you, and he provided a proof on that day, saying, This is the proof of which Yah spoke. Behold, the altar is split, and the ashes upon it are spilled. Now, I don't know if y'all recall me last week saying, I think it was last week, when we saw in the previous chapter 22, excuse me, and we saw in verse 11, chapter 22. Well, we could go to verse 10. It says, in chapter 22, it says, of 2 Kings, Shaphan the scribe then told the king, saying, Hilkiah the Kohen, the priest, has given me a scroll. Shaphan then read it before the king. Verse 11, it says, It happened that when the king heard the words of the scroll of the Torah, he rent his garments. Now, the commentary I had read, it had said that he read a scripture in Deuteronomy, and I had said that was a good take. I can see that, and then I think yourself agreed. That was a good take. My take is a little different. I'm gonna tell you what I mean, and now I'm gonna go forward a little bit. Hopefully they don't throw nothing at me for doing that. The man, Jesus had said, I had a conversation the other day, so this kind of sparked my mind in this point right here. It is said in your law, or isn't it said, didn't I say in your law, isn't it said in your law that ye are gods? I think it said that in Psalms. Now, we know that law or Torah can mean law, teaching, or instructions. So we know Psalms is not the first 5 books, which is considered the law, right? So when I come back to this, and it says, verse 11, chapter 22, it happened that when the king heard the words of the scroll of the Torah, he rent his garments. The first thing we think of right here, scroll of the Torah, is the first 5 books, right? The laws. What if it was the actual passage of him seeing what he was going to do from what the prophet had said was going to happen, the man of God? What if it was that? Not saying it is, but what if it was? What if it was an instruction that he read about himself? That's just something I'm putting out there. Panelists, people that's called in, that's on the show right now, write that down. And then when I'm done speaking with this chapter, let me know what y'all think on that. Their commentary that I read last week was in Deuteronomy. My commentary is not to say that they're wrong, but it's to put out like what if it was him seeing this instruction or this prophecy that he was going to be doing and he saw it, Now we see that in verse 16. God who had prophesied these events. Okay, so let's go down to Now I want to go down to verse 21. I want to go down to verse 21. And it says, the king then commanded the people, saying, perform the Pesach offering, the Passover offering unto Yah, your God, as written in this book of the covenant, right? For such a Pesach offering had not been celebrated since the days of the judges who judged Israel, and all the days of the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah. Verse 23, but in the 18th year of the king Josiah, his Passover was celebrated unto Yah in Jerusalem. Verse 24, furthermore, the necromancers and the conjurers of spirits, the teraphim, the I can't even say the word execrable idols, I don't even know what that means, and all the abominations that had been seen in the land of Judah and Jerusalem, Josiah removed in order to uphold the words of the Torah that were written in the scroll that Hilkiah the Kohen, the priest, found in the temple of Yah. Verse 25, and I'm going to end it right after this one. After 27. But 25 says, before him there had never been a king like him, who would turn to Yah with all his heart, with all his soul, and with all his resources in accordance with the entire Torah of Moses. And after him, no one arose like him. Now, we saw three people. We saw David, we saw Hezekiah, and we see Josiah. Two people, Hezekiah and Josiah, where it says there was no king like them. None. Before them or after them. Okay, we pinpointed that with David, it was the idolatry. He didn't do that. Hezekiah, I pointed out, I believe it was, I think it was more so he didn't do anything along the lines of what David did. Along with the not serving, putting any of the gods before him in an idolatry type of way. Now this one with King Josiah, we see his is turning back. No king has ever done it. He just followed the footsteps of his forefathers after David. That was before him. But he was doing what he thought to be right at the time. But when he found out, instantly changed everything. That's what we're seeing right now. So the book is telling you that there's no king that has ever done what he has done, and no king after him has done this. Turn back according to all the commandments, with all his heart, with all his soul, with all his resources, according to the entire Torah. Now, last thing I want to say, in verse 26, it says, nevertheless, Yah did not relent from his great flaring anger, for his anger had flared up against Judah because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had angered him. So Yah said, Judah as well will I remove from my presence. That's interesting right there. Judah as well will I remove from my presence, as I removed Israel. And I will reject this city which I have chosen, Jerusalem, and the temple of which I have said, my name will remain there. So what I want to point out is you can change. You can do everything right. You can get yourself together. You can start doing it the way that the Most High wanted, but you cannot expect that you will not pay for things that you have done. We have seen that from back when in our studies up until this point now. So, and we're probably going to continue to see that. When does this change? I guess we're going to find out. And that is all that I have for this chapter. I really don't have anything else. I think I will say this, that this Passover, I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago, or I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, that it was some things that they weren't doing. They weren't keeping this stuff. They weren't keeping these commandments, these feasts, or this feast day at least. I would say feast days in general, based off of what it's speaking of, but I can be wrong. But at least the Passover right here. So he put it back into place. So that's all. I yield the floor.
All right, Yosef, the floor is yours. Any of the callers that have calling in and want to say anything or add to or ask any questions pertaining anything that Brother Shema brought forth, go ahead and press 1, and we'll let you in when the time is right. Or you can wait till all the panel has spoken, and then you could address all of them at once. So, Brother Yosef, it's on you.
All right, shalom, shalom. All right, good stuff, Shema. I want to say that he hit a lot of points, in which I don't have to go over some points. I like how he went back to the prophecy that was spoken about what Josiah would do. That was good stuff. It was something that I was going to actually touch on. So that was great. And I like how he brought up the laws and the testimonies. Because some of this stuff is the testimonies. It's things that they went through, things that they seen. That's what we're believing more so also. We're seeing the laws. And I want you to also understand also that, people say, well, Genesis is considered Torah. But what we see in Genesis is eyewitness accounts are supposed to be what happened or what they seen or what they did. It wasn't truly eyewitness accounts because it's not like Adam wrote, what went down. But y'all understand what I'm saying. I know we point out certain laws that happened then, but it wasn't wrote like as far as the instructions on what to do. But there's some very good stuff in Genesis to show that they had did some things beforehand. We went over this a while ago. But moving on. All right. And like he said in number 2, they basically got all these people together, and they seen how this covenant was made back in Deuteronomy. How they agreed as one people to follow this covenant. All right, they was trying to protect the land, and that's the same thing that Israel did. Back in the day, they all at one people say, yes, we'll follow this covenant, we'll do what we do. So I can conclude basically that this, I could see that them doing the same thing. So I can conclude they read it, they say, hey, we got to follow this covenant, we got to agree this as a people, we agree. That's what they did right there. But here's one thing that I saw throughout. I'm going to skip down a little bit. He started taking away all the stuff, okay? Burning whatever was not of the Most High, taking stuff out of the houses, the house of the Most High, and he's trying to eliminate the idolatry out of the land, all right? And then something I seen in 11, he did away with the horses that the sovereign of Judah had given to the sun at the entrance of the house of Yahweh. By the room of Nathan Melech, the eunuch that were in the court, and he burned the chariot of the sun with fire. To me, it sounded like, and I could be wrong, that they dedicated these horses to the sun, the host of the heavens, right? And he did away with these horses, all right, because they were dedicated to the sun, in which, in retrospect, we would think, well, what's the big deal? Or just, they're horses. You know what I mean? To me, I guess it's bigger than what I would see as far as my mind. obviously when you dedicate something to something, at that point, it's that's what it is. And it ain't no coming back from that. And I'm talking about items, not people. I can't tell you about people. And I want to make sure I'm not going to go over some of the stuff that he went over, so I'm trying to. All right, as you keep going down, he kept taking the stuff out. He's trying to get rid of all the idolatry in Israel, basically. Okay, 20. This is, I bet y'all probably thought this is something I would pick out. And he slaughtered all the priests of the high places who were there on the slaughtering places. They burned the men's bones on them and went back to Jerusalem. Another thing that I have been seeing consistently is the priests. They're not given a chance to repent. They're not given a chance to turn back to the Most High. They've dedicated their time to other idols or whatever you want to say, Baal, Asherim, Asherah, and all this other stuff that's up in here. And they just killed them. Right? They knocked them straight off. I don't see anywhere right here it says repent and change and turn back. So this is very serious. This is one thing that I'm seeing consistently, that this is nothing to be taken lightly, idol worshiping. And, of course, they are in a land that is instructed that they should be doing this. It's part of the law. They have to get these people out of the land. Am I telling you to go to the Sunday church and kill the Sunday pastor? No, I'm not telling you that at all. This is not the land, and that's not the law of the land, and I don't want nobody talking about someone listen to this show, and it inspired me to go kill all idol worshipers. You know what I'm saying? So, though they were supposed to, they're supposed to purge the evil out the land. We're not in that land, and this land itself is evil, so ain't no purging to be done. Now, if you are going to go back to the land and you feel like, hey, I'm going to oppose the law, that's a whole different land, a whole different law. I can't tell you what to do, all right? I'm just telling you I'm not sanctioning or supporting you going through America and doing anything. I say that, all right? Okay, so they kept the facade and they did all this great stuff, right? All right, and also 24 it says, and Josiah put away all the consoling mediums and spiritualists and mighty and household mighty ones and idols, all our abomination that they see in the land. See, this is what I'm talking about, in the land, abomination. All right, in order to establish the words of the Torah, which is written in the book that Helikiyahu, the priest, found in the house of the Most High. Okay, going back to the land. I do want to go. I think I skipped a spot that I wanted to touch on. Let me make sure I did. Okay. Yes, I did. I kind of skipped a spot. In 12, in the slaughtering place that was on the roof of the upper room of Ahaz, sovereign of Jehudah had made, the slaughtering places which Manasseh had made in the two courtyards in the house of the Most High, the sovereign broke down and rushed through the dust and the water, right? I wanted to put that out there, what Manasseh did, right? Then I'm skipping back down. All right. Okay, yeah. Shema talked about 25. And I want to talk about 26 a little bit, even though he touched on it. However, the Most High did not turn back, right? For which Manasseh had provoked him. All right. I want to turn back to what he actually did, if people missed that, and it was only a couple chapters back. 21, or maybe 22. Hold on. Go down to the end of this one real quick. And hold on. Yes, it is in 21. In 21, it says, and he built. He did evil. Okay, 21:1. I could start there. It talks about, Manasseh, right? And number 2, he did evil in the eyes of the Most High, according to the abomination of the nations which the Most High dispossessed the children of Israel. For he built the high places in which his father had destroyed and raised up slaughtering places for Baal and Asherah, as Ahab, sovereign of Israel, had done. And he bowed himself to all the hosts of the heavens and served them. And he built slaughtering places in the house of the Most High, which he said, in Jerusalem I put my name. Do you understand that this is where he said he put his name? This is the house where he said he put his name. If we go back to Solomon and everything that he was doing and dedicating his temple, he said he put his name in this place and this, that, and the other. As a covenant for him to walk before him upright, and his children should walk before him upright, and then therefore they would always have a place in this land. I'm just abbreviating or summarizing what was said back then. So now you got him coming in and him doing worse than everybody else, even the people that beforehand, and he's going to put other idols in the house and in the land. There's already a lamb in the house of the Most High also. And he made his son pass through fire and practice magic, divination, consulting spirits and mediums. He did much evil in the eyes of the Most High to provoke him. Okay. It also says a bunch of stuff that he did. And then in 8, it's all right. And in 8, it said, and no more shall I cause the feet of Israel to move from the soil which I gave their fathers. Only if they guard to do according to what I have commanded them, and according to all the Torah my servant Moshe had commanded them. But they did not obey him, and I shall let them astray to do more evil than the nations whom the Most High had destroyed before the children of Israel. So they did worse than the people he took out of the land that he had chosen. Right? And the Most High spoke to his servants, the prophets. That's number 10. And because Manasseh, sovereign of Yehudah, this is Judah. Okay, he's the sovereign of Judah, had done these abominations, having done more evil than the Amorites who were before him, and also made Judah sin with his idols. Therefore, thus says the Most High of Israel, see, I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah that both ears of those who hear of it shall tingle. All right. He said, I'll wipe Jerusalem as one wipes a dish. And 14, I shall forsake the remnant of my inheritance and give them into the hand of their enemies. And there shall be, because they have done evil in the eyes of sight. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I only said blah, 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 because I'm speeding up and I wanted to go fast forward into the previous the chapter I'm in. Make sure I'm getting 3, 4. All right. So that gives you an idea, if people don't remember, what was actually done. So it was even more so than just, oh, yeah, he did a little sinning over here. You know, he did even more than the Amorites and stuff that was in there beforehand. He practiced divination, magic, and all this other stuff. So here's Josiah. He's taking the divination and the magic out again. He's destroying all the idols. Remember, he said he did all the hosts of the heaven, and Shema had just read that he had took away all the stuff that was done for the host of the heavens. It's the same thing. Okay, so he's trying to reverse this thing, but he's trying to reverse it. And let me go back to it. And the Most High says, through all that, I don't even care. Honestly. That's exactly what I read. I know you did all that. It sounds all good, but I'm still going to uphold my word. I'm still going to do what I said I was going to do. All right? This made the Most High. Didn't retract on his statement on something he said he would do. All right? He's not going to always just backpedal from a curse or whatever the case may be. This is one of the reasons why Israel is in the curses today, because he said he was going to do it. He didn't backpedal off of his curses. People continue to do whatever he did, and some people tried to reverse these curses. And the people behind them continue to do what they want to do. So it continues to happen over and over. It's the same thing I kind of see today as far as people. Some people are sitting here trying to reverse the curses, going back to this covenant. I don't want to, it's not to discourage anybody, but I just want you to look at the reality of the situation. You might not be the generation to reverse the curse. Just might not. All right? It does take collective people, and the Most High has to be satisfied with with the covenant that is made between his people. Right? And even though we might make a covenant with him, he might not be satisfied from the forefathers yet. And still, this is just reality. It's not to discourage anybody. It's just, I have to bring reality in every situation. Where was I at? Okay. Okay, in 27 it says, even Yehuda I shall remove from my presence as I remove Israel to reject the city. I just read where he said that. And that's about that. Something stuck out to me about, this battle at Megiddo and how his servant died. I think that needs to be highlighted. I think I need to write that down. Because this battle at Megiddo, I've heard about it before somewhere else. So we'll see about this. This is Josiah having a battle at Megiddo. And they were sick about this, okay, because he tried to turn Israel back to the law and the commandments, okay, went into the covenant. And that's all I got for them. And sorry if I took too much time. I just wanted to point out a couple extra things. Shalom.
All right, so I'm up. These two brothers did an awesome job. It's not much left to really go over, but what I would like to do is kind of be very attention to detail to a few things. Not saying these brothers didn't, but, when I say attention to detail, I'm talking about nooks and crannies and everything like that, because they pretty much covered everything. So I have to go and find something. So first I like to do is put it in perspective before I move forward. So perspective, as Brother Shema said, Josiah, he came across this book, that they found in the temple. Whether somebody been knew about it or not, at the time of what we reading, he decides to restore the covenant and try to get everybody back on board with what the agreement was in the first place. And so as we go through in context, I keep this in mind. So everything that he's saying that he's doing, putting away and removing and all this stuff like that, I put it into perspective with the context of he's doing things, his actions are based off of what he's reading in the agreement. So anything that he's doing and he's removing, that means it goes against what was written. So all these things that these brothers mentioned, they go against what the agreement was. So I don't think they missed anything as far as what he removed, but I just want to make sure that it's understood that he's not just going off his own thoughts. He's going off, okay, I'm reading this, but we doing this. All right, let's remove that. It say we need to be doing this, but we ain't doing it, so let's do it. So I think that's a good way to look at it if you really want to know what it's supposed to be like. But on some of these things, what I want to do is kind of emphasize on very little particular things that's said. So let's go to 5, where it say he put down the adulterous priest. And it says, what I want to emphasize on, it says, whom the kings of Judah had ordained. So that means these kings were ordaining these adulterous priests. So it was the kings doing that was saying that, okay, you're going to be a priest. We read that, in context, how they made their own priests. Brother yourself point that out a whole bunch, and he kind of pointed forward to our current state right now, and that's something that does need to be looked at, evaluated, and discussed. We don't have time now, but just keep it in mind. Maybe we can visit that on a rest show. Okay, let's look at something else. Okay, 9. The priests of the high places came not unto the altar. One of Brother Mercy's favorite words, the altar of the Lord. All right, now I'm going to emphasize on this part. In Jerusalem. Okay? But they did eat. So they did eat of the unleavened bread. That's part of the agreement. That's part of the instructions they're supposed to be doing. And then it says they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brethren. So, my thing of pointing or highlighting these things, which I think Brother yourself kind of spoke on this a little bit. He's kind of something clicking in his mind to where he like, man, I got to, I'm seeing something. I don't know exactly what's in his mind, but I think I have an idea what's possibly in his mind. But maybe as we push forward, maybe it'll come out a little more. But what I'm seeing here is that, I bow in Jerusalem. Because if you go back and you read the instructions, you when you go to the covenant, what Moshe put out, he said, I'm going to make a place where I put my name. And this is where you're going to do this and that and that. So it's attention to detail type of deal. All right, let's see. Okay, let's go to 21, where it talks about Josiah restoring his Passover. So as we said, it was things that was in the covenant they were supposed to do, but they wasn't doing. So he want to restore this feast. So it said, keep the Passover unto the Lord your God. Now let's highlight this. As it is written in the book of this covenant. So when I read that like that, I'm saying that in the covenant it was a specific way, a specific setup that they were supposed to have. And he's reading the book, and he's saying we're going to do it like this. And you keep going. Brother Shema talked about that they didn't hold the Passover, from the days of the judges that judged Israel. But then it said in the 18th year of King Josiah, wherein this Passover was holding to the Lord, and then in Jerusalem. So I just think it's a point that they putting it like that. Because if you go back to the original agreement and you read it, he said that that's where they were going to do it at. Now, I know before they did it in other places, but when they got to where he took them to, this is what he told them to do. So, I mean, you could take it for what it's worth, you know what I'm saying, how you want to take it. I'm just pointing out things. I'm not telling y'all what to do or anything like that. I'm not even sure of what to do, just like Josiah wasn't until he started reading his book. So, that's what we doing. We reading the book, seeing what it tell us to do. All right. You keep going down, 25. One thing that I hit was, hold on, where it talks about with all his soul, all his might, and everything, according to all the law of Moshe or Moses. This coincides with Devarim or Deuteronomy 6, 4, and 5, where he says, that's what he said. You used to keep this, this law, love the Most High with all your heart, your soul. That was something that was written. So, it seems like he's trying to fulfill the law. He's trying to do it as it was written. He's trying to uphold it. You know, he's doing it with all his heart and all that, as they were required to do. But then as Brother Shema and yourself, or maybe it was just yourself, I'm not sure, pointed out that just because he did all these things to renew the covenant, the Most High carried out his word to remove them out of his sight, because that's what he said he would do. You know, and it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying, sometimes the process, because when we look at this in context, the process was already started. And sometimes when the ball is rolling, you know, it got to make it to the bottom of the hill before you can push it back up the hill. So they was already being removed out of the Most High sight. You know what I'm saying? He had already sent people in on them, and people was getting carried away. You know, and I know he was trying to fix everything and stuff like that, but, you know, the word had already took action. So, you know, it was what it was. Not saying that, you know, but then this also shows that, you know, if you righteous and you right, no matter what, you know what I'm saying, is before you, you going to do what's right. And Josiah wanted to fix things, not looking for them to not be punished, but he just did it because it was the right thing to do. Yeah. You know, and that's a good lesson right there.
Can I
just
point out something
right.
on that, what you're saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I point something out? Check it out. So, on what he's bringing out right now, check out Josiah, though. They still got punished. Like he said, the process was already rolling, right? But here's something that I want y'all to pay attention to. Josiah did not see this. He said that you're not going to see this. Why? Is it one or two reasons? Is it because he rent his clothes and turn back and everything like that? I want to say, this is Shema speaking, this is not the book, but this is what I discern from what I see in the book. It's not because he turned back, you know, turning back and getting the people to turn back. It's because initially he wasn't even doing it. And I'm going to let that marinate. Initially, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. Y'all know I'm good with getting correction. He initially was not being a part of that idolatry. I got that word. I always mess that word up. Worshiping other idols. It said he was doing what was right before he did that, right? The same way that Dawi did. So we know the way that Dawi did was not having idols. So my take and what I'm seeing is he didn't have to see what they was going to see because he was never a part of it to begin with. But he did turn back from what he learned to be true and what to do more than anybody has ever done before him and after. So that was a plus on his end, too. And I just want, what you think on that, though? On him not seeing.
I do want to say something according to this subject also. Initially from what Yediah was saying about the ball being rolling. Manasseh said, hey, he was a king for 55 years. Okay, so this was in the land for a while, and he also said, man, I warned you by the prophets. Okay, so the Most High ain't just say, all right, you did this one time, I'm done with you. He warned them. Okay, so I don't want anybody to think, for one, oh, this is unfair, it changed. He said it multiple times, and now it's at the point where it's like, if I don't do it, I'm a liar. Because I said I was going to do it. You know what I'm saying? I knew y'all was going to change, but here's what I'm going to do for you, Josiah. I'm not going to let you see it because you changed. Now, going back to what Shema say, yeah, I don't agree with that take because I don't know if Josiah was doing anything or not because he didn't even have the law, so I know he wasn't following it. Now, I don't know if he was participating in the idolatry and stopped or if he wasn't. He was doing what was right in the eyes of the Most High. I don't understand what was being said, and I believe I expressed that last show that I don't know what that actually meant, and we did say it could possibly be that the idolatry, but it doesn't tell us in this book, maybe possibly in another book later on, it expounds on it, but it doesn't tell us in this book at this time how he was right in the eyes of the Most High, because he didn't even know what was right in the eyes of the Most High. So could it have been something, for us, that he did out of his heart? Who knows? I mean, at this point, I would be assuming, anybody else would be assuming, and I really, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to go off of that.
Can we, is it possible that when they say he did what is right, that it's just an overall statement of his life from the whole time? So if he did all this right here, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But when you
so
go
it could have been an overview before. Right. It could have been an overview
they got into
saying.
The story.
So what about the last part of the sentence when it said, according to Dowie, or when it said, what did it say? Hold on, I want to verbatim. It said,
I think it's in 20.
Verbatim. He said, you got it already? If you got it, read it.
No, I'm just saying. I think it's in 20.
Following the ways of his forefather Dowie, he did not veer right or left. What does that mean? I have my definition of what it means.
Well, I can see what Yediyah is saying, because Dawood followed the laws. This is what we were saying in the last show about Dawood following the laws. So how could you do what's right without knowing what the laws is and not veering left or right? After he knew what was right, he didn't veer left or right from what the laws had. So to me, I see that could be an overview. Like, I ain't gonna lie, if you look at the way the Bible is constructed, a lot of times it'll say something and then go into definition. Like, it'll break down what is being said previously. We can see that in Genesis. A lot of times people say, well, what about the Genesis account of 1 and 2 or whatever the case may be? If you see what is being said, it tells you an overview, and then it breaks down how each one is being done. That's what we found out, but it's a possibility, and I'm just gonna go with that. And I'm not gonna I see that more than anything else, because you can't know what's right without you. I guess you could do what's right without knowing. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm gonna relinquish what I was saying, but I see what Yediyah is saying.
Good points.
Okay.
But let me finish off I just want to finish off what I was saying about the ball being rolling.
Mercy in the
I
queue
agree
too, y'all. Just so y'all
about
know.
the 55. It was 55 years of doing wrong. So, and he did say that he was warning them. He said this. I told you through my servants, the prophets. In 55 years, how many prophets you think came through and said something? So he got, they had their chances. So it's not unfair. That's all I want to say about that. I'm relinquish right now.
Yeah.
We got Mercy in the queue too, just so y'all know.
I'm gonna let Mercy in. Let me just finish these last little points. It's like 2. So it was another thing just in 7 that I missed. It said, and he broke down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord. So something that was interesting to me. First of all, I just want to say, houses that are of wickedness should not be near the house of the Lord. So, like, going back to that mindset I was saying, he was doing things that were seemingly against what was written. So he broke down these houses. Now, when we talk about of the Sodomites, now that word is, in the context, in the Hebrew, is Hakadeshim. So this is, it derives from the same word that means set apart, which is interesting, right? But it's because these people, set apart is not always a thing that's like holy, okay? This is the point that needs to be driven. When you say set apart, you could be set apart for wickedness, or you could, you know what I'm saying? So when you say I'm set apart, you better have some definition behind what you set apart for. Because these people was, when you look into that word, it really means, it's not sodomites, it's really male temple prostitutes. So they were set aside just to be male temple prostitutes. So I wanted to make sure I hit that. So that's a little something for your mind. And then another thing I wanted to point out is just look at, some of this activity where it talks about this Pharaoh or whatever coming through, taking over or whatever, and it say, he turned his name. So you see people names getting changed, okay, in this type of rulership. When people taking over, they want to change people's names. All right. I don't know how significant that is, but it's something to think about. When you look at the history of captivities, you look at Roots, they changed Kutha name. You know what I'm saying? So that's it, man. Let Brother Mercy in.
Oh, y'all.
Brother Mercy, you live.
Happy Sabbath, brothers. What I wanted to say, this verse where it talks about Manasseh and the Lord's anger, I wanted to talk about that because we talked about that last week, and I brought the question about Hezekiah. Manasseh's father was Hezekiah, and Hezekiah was, the prophet came to him and Isaiah told him, you're going to die. Hezekiah said, I've been faithful to the Lord. And then the prophet came back and told Hezekiah, you got 15 more years. Within those 15 years that was extended to Hezekiah's life, Manasseh was born. Thought that was pretty interesting. Hezekiah should have been dead and gone, but he got an extension. And in the extension, Manasseh, his son, became king. I wanted two things. Not only was Manasseh born, but Manasseh became king. Two things. Not only was Manasseh born, but he also became king of Judah. Now, moving forward, the Most High has not forgotten about this incident with Manasseh because he keep bringing it up. And so it must be important. We got a different king here, and he still talking about Manasseh. All right. So, Josiah, Manasseh became king when he was young, 12 years old. Josiah became, probably one of the youngest, if not the youngest king of Israel, at 8 years old. So we got the kings, people becoming kings at very young ages. Now, because he's 8 years old, I'm going to call him a rookie. I'm going to call Josiah a rookie. Although he's, into the Lord and all that good things, but he's still a rookie, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to show you why. In verse 29, he makes I believe, this is my opinion, I believe he makes a rookie mistake. While Josiah was king, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up to the Euphrates to help the king of Syria. King Josiah marched out to meet him in battle. So Josiah went to fight him in battle. You keep making comparisons to David. But one thing about David, he will always inquire before he went to battle. I don't see Josiah doing this. So I see this as a rookie mistake. He goes out to meet him. Necho kills him. Then in verse 30, this is why I believe the Most High is going to get rid of Judah and do what he do to Jerusalem. For this reason, what happens in verse 30, Josiah's servants brought his body in a chair from Megiddo to Jerusalem and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in place of his father. The people did it. Was it the priest? I don't think so. Where is Hilkiah the priest? Why didn't Josiah go to Hilkiah the priest, who found the book of the law inside that was, he found it in the temple? That's interesting. How can you find something? The obvious place would be in the temple, right? But they found it in the temple, like it was hidden. So, but I thought that Josiah should have someone to talk to. Maybe he should have asked Hilkiah, I'm about to go to battle. What you think? Blase. He has no advisory. He has no one to advise him. So Hilkiah should have been there, or some high priest should have been there to help him, because David ate the priest's bread. Remember, David ate the priest's bread. He had the priest. David had a good relationship with the priesthood. So he had people to advise him. And I think sometimes we forget that. So I just wanted to say that. So with Josiah here, a rookie mistake, he doesn't have no one advising him. Although he's doing some great things, he has no advisory. So we got a class called advisory. I'm a teacher. We got a class for our students called advisory. Just to let you know. Just hint, little joke. But our kids need advisory today. So Josiah's a kid. He came 8 years old. To me, he's a kid. So he needs someone to advise him. So that's what I see in that. And then the people make Jehoahaz king in his stead. And Jehoahaz, he ain't the king for 3 months. He ain't last for 3 months. Well, that tells you right there the people's choice. It wasn't the right choice because he ain't last for 3 months. And then what the Pharaoh do? He chose the next king of Israel. The Pharaoh chose the next king of Israel. Watch this. In verse 34, Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim son of Josiah. First the people made the next king. Then the Pharaoh made the next king. So we got then we got outsiders making the next kings of Israel. So you got to start thinking about this. This is why Israel has to cease to exist, because we got outsiders making our kings. So I just want to throw that out there. And lastly, I just wanted to say, and according to Ra, I think it's the priest that makes the king, because Samuel chose Saul and David. It's the priesthood and or prophets who choose the next kings, not the people, and certainly not the Pharaoh. So I just wanted to point that out. Since Jediah brought out the thing about details, that's the details I noticed. But Brother Mercy out.
All right, Brother Mercy, we appreciate that. And if I could just cover out on what Brother Mercy is saying right here, because I brought up the name change. I didn't want to go too deep into the name change thing, but I brought up Kutha and everything like that. And then you see they're choosing who is the ruler over the people. So this just show you like a control factor. All right? When people change your name, that means you belong to them. Okay? That is a psychological thing. And then now you carrying around, even I think Brother, Alexa, that Brother Shema brought on, talked about this. Talked about
Yeah.
Say it one more time for the people.
Alatsa Ben Yasharala.
Okay. I don't know if y'all recall. You recall this, Shema, when he was talking about just the names?
Mm-hmm.
And how it shows that you still belong to the people that owned your grandparents and stuff like that. So it's an ownership thing. And so when you nationalize, I know I'm veering off a little bit, but when you nationalize, you get to choose your name. So it shows a sense of freedom. But anyway, but that is a psychological thing. That's why they did it to Kuntha on the movies. But if you look, even in old slave movies, when you have a baby, they choose your baby name. They be like, oh, I think his name should be whatever. And you got to name your kid that. So it's a sense of ownership. And then it even shows what Brother Mercy talking about, how you can't even choose who is to rule over you. They place people over you and say, yeah, we choose him to be over you. Even like you go back to our early slavery, they chose, what was Fiddler? You know what I'm saying? Fiddler. You go be over this one here. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It could be either of their people over you, or they can choose somebody who they trust or who they done brainwashed to put over you. So I just think that was big in a reality sense, so I want to elaborate on it a little bit. But let's move forward. We don't have nobody else in the queue. The floor is yours, Brother Yosef.
I did want to make a small comment off of what Brother Mercy say. He is absolutely correct or whatever. The 15 years that was brought forth changed the game for Israel. You know what I'm saying? If he'd have just died peacefully, the Most High had a plan. You know what I mean? All right, you're going to die. We never know what the outcome will be, but we see what the outcome was. Sometimes our decisions of what we want is not what's better for us or better for the people. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like, this messed up Israel, Judah, his 15 years, and I understand what he's saying now. But neither here nor there. If y'all could hold on 1 second. All right. I had to put my Bluetooth back on. I had to charge a little minute, but I need it on while I'm doing my chapter. All right. I had a question. I'm gonna kick this off with a question. It starts out in the ISR as Nebuchadnezzar, and I believe in the KJV that's Nebuchadnezzar, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, the same Nebuchadnezzar
right now.
Okay. That's why I was asking about the KJV real quick. And that same Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon, Babel, that is spoken about in Daniel's days, correct?
Man, you all up in the mix. We on the same page, bro.
Okay.
But yeah,
I just want to say something. I don't want to go too far off and veer off and go all above and beyond. I just want to put out there that 1st and 2nd Kings is all over the place. What I mean by that is it's covering a lot of span of time, and then you're going to get into prophets that was inside of these times and what they went through. Well, I'm going backwards now. Isaiah was just spoken about a couple chapters ago. Okay? So we're getting into Isaiah. The reason why I bring him up is we get into Isaiah. I need you to remember what he talked about and one of the kings and some of these kings that went forth. A lot of times when we read, and we've been reading beforehand, we kind of, like me personally, I can't say we, personally, when I first read the word, and I was in, a regular church doing regular things that everybody else did at the time, and I just wanted to know what the Bible said and everything like that. And when it came around to the kings, I paid attention, but I did not put it under a microscope. And it's because I couldn't wait to get to more miracles. I couldn't wait to get to more good stuff and the great stuff. You know what I'm saying? The juicy stuff that everything about Sunday church is about. Okay? Now I take a step back and I say, hold on. The juicy stuff, okay, we all hear about that all the time. I need some of these details because this is what they say, the term, the devil is in the detail. Okay? So
I ain't never heard that before, but that's funny.
You ain't never heard that? Okay, man.
Yeah, I ain't never heard that either. That's some old school
stuff. Oh, wow. Wow.
You know me and you from Chicago. I don't know, man. I don't know nothing about that.
Okay. All right. You know what? I always got some terms. I always got some terms that ain't nobody ever heard before. I'm starting to realize I don't know where I'm getting these from. They don't watch too many movies. Now I don't even know where I got it from. Shema from the same place. We're about the same age. So I would figure that he would have heard this, but whatever. It is a term that people say. I've heard this like 50,000 times. So I ain't trying to hear that. Anyway, going forth anyway. So this is Nebuchadnezzar, okay? And this is also in the time where we said...
I want to say, Brother Azariah Janoy said he ain't never heard it either. He's from Chicago.
Ah.
So he
okay,
listens
man,
to it some way too.
I watch a whole bunch of movies. So, you know what I'm saying? I probably saw this in a movie somewhere. But if you Google The Devil's in the Details, I'm pretty sure you see something. Man, I'm going to do it after I get off my thing.
It's
whatever.
Sound like a movie term. All right, go ahead. My bad.
All right. Boom. Okay. All right, it says number 2. Okay, and the Most High sent against him raiding bands of Kasdim. What's that word for Kasdim, if you don't mind, in the KJV?
You tell what? Which part is it on?
Kasdim, and 2, raiding bands of Kasdim. It says Kasdim.
Oh, that's the Chaldees, where your boy Abraham came from.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's what's up. And raiding bands of Aram, and raiding bands of Moab, and raiding bands of the children of Ammon, and he sent them against Judah to destroy it. Okay. I just want to get something clear to everybody that's been listening to us. All that the Most High won't send something, we constantly been seeing it. If you do something against the Most High, He will send an adversary against you. I'm about to bring a technical term, and this is not blasphemy when I say this. At this point, the Most High is an adversary to Judah, and Judah is an adversary to the Most High because of what they did to him and what they continue to do.
What's the adversary in the Hebrew?
Satan. Okay? He is a Satan. It is not a name, a proper noun, whatever it is. That is not what Satan means. Okay? Now, we're not going, I don't know about no Lucifer and none of that. I'm not going into all that. I don't know at this point. Just say at this point, sometimes you might even see the word Satan. It doesn't mean the actual red-skinned man with the horns coming out of his head with hood foot walking around looking crazy, or even some transformed spirit being. You know, the term is Satan, is the adversary. So my point isn't to bring out like that, but my point is to show that the Most High will do some things because He's sending these people. Okay? He protects them. He also showed them He protects them when they do good. And He is the one that sins when they do bad. All right? I'm going to say this point right here. For all these people always talking about what the white man done did to them and black folks and we Israel, and it ain't nobody's fault but Israel. We need to get over that. Okay? We are our own worst enemy. Because can't nobody do wrong by us if we doing right by the Most High. Evidence is in the Scriptures. If you believe in the Scriptures. Okay. If you don't, I don't know why you're on the show. All right. All right, that's it. I'll be there with that. And then in 3, I had that highlighted. Only at the mouth of the Most High this came upon Judah to remove them from the presence because of the sins of Manasseh according to all that he did. I went over what Manasseh did, so I don't have to go over that again. This happened because the Most High said it. Point blank period, A plus B. And also because of the innocent blood that he shed. All right? You know how the Most High feel about the innocent blood thing. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Most High would not forgive. I thought that would be very key. That we see 2 things happen in these last 3 chapters. The first thing that just happened in the chapter before, that even though they went inside the covenant, and even though they made a covenant and tore up all this stuff, the Most High did not change his mind. Okay? And then it's reiterated even here that there's some things that he said he ain't forgave for. That is key. So we should be walking on eggshells at some time because I don't want to ever do nothing that the Most High ain't going to ever forgive. And since I know that this happened,
bruh,
who's to say that it won't happen again?
Bruh. Sorry.
No, I thought you had something to say, so I was just gonna be quiet for a minute.
No, that was just it. That was
I got something to say on it.
I agree with that.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shabbat.
That's scary.
On that point right there, go ahead.
No, that's just scary. That's all I got.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, you all up in it, man. I don't got nothing to say from this point. I just wanted to say something on this whole, 'cause when in the KJV it say the Lord will not pardon, and that word, everybody play on that word when they talk about that angel of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And he said, if you do certain things, this angel will not pardon you. So I just want to, just look at it from the perspective of, they did something that he would not pardon. So, I mean, it is what it is, whether it's a messenger that he sent and he tell them, hey, if they do this, don't pardon them. Kill them. You know what I'm saying? It's coming from the Most High. So it said he would not pardon them, but who knocking them off? Who's taking them out? These people he sent, just like he sent the angel. So, I mean, it is like it is when you look at it from that
point right there.
That's all I got to say.
That's good stuff.
Man,
I mean, that's
like you said, it is what it is. It's scary, though. This is the thing. I'm not even bringing up the aspect of like, It's just these are not the things that were told to me when I was growing up. So when I bring this stuff out, it's not for nobody else. It's not for people. It is for other people, but it's for people that grew up like me. Okay, and that's why we got different aspects of people on this show. That's why we come with all kind of different walks and different beliefs, because I can show you from my aspect of what I see and how I grew up and what I was taught. Okay, and these other brothers can go from an aspect of what they was taught. And that's why we got all these people on the show, press one, whenever. You know what I'm saying? To come out there and tell you from the aspect of what you was taught. I was never taught that the Most High never forgave certain sins, and I was never taught and showed in the scriptures in the Old Testament where he said, oh, that's the line. I don't care what you do, even if you turn back, I'm smiting all y'all. Nope, never was shown to me. So to go back and look at some stuff and say, wow, this is wild to me. This isn't, to knock anybody's belief. It would be basically to knock my own belief. And that's what I want a lot of people to understand. When I come out with certain stuff, it's knocking my own. Okay, this is a reset button for me. I care about you resetting. You ain't got to reset. I need to. All right, and that's what the recognition of the show is. A personal thing, but it's collective, if y'all understand what I'm saying. All right. So, boom, boom, and will not forgive. All right. I'm going to summarize a little bit. So, Jehoiakim, that's how it is said in the scriptures. And I can't wait for next show because I'm showing enough throwing the scriptures right up out of there. I'm tired of scriptures. But I'm reading it. So I started strong. I'm going to finish strong for this season. All right.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, that's really good. Like, for the listeners, if y'all hearing what he's saying, like, this just shows. I know I'm interrupting, but I just want to bring out, we can't get so fixated on versions. Matter of fact, I can't talk about this because I think we said we was gonna bring this up.
We're gonna talk more about it next week. You know what I'm saying? Because I got some stuff to bring out about the stuff I said. As far as next week, you know what I mean? Just tune in next week to the season finale, whatever. But I don't want to spend too much time on it. Okay, and basically he died. All right, and then his son Jehoiakim reigned in his place. All right. So, hold on. And then Jehoiakim, he was 18 years old. He began to reign. He reigned for 3 months, just like the other cat reigned for 3 months. I mean, this is crazy. We usually ain't see this quick succession of reigning now. Like I said, the ball gets to rolling, the Most High get to doing stuff. It's like bam, 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 bam. Ain't nothing succeeding. The kings ain't succeeding. But they're not even following after some of these kings ain't even following after their fathers. It seems to be easier to follow after the wickedness than it was to follow after the goodness. Because after Hezekiah, here comes wickedness. It's crazy. Then you got Josiah, and after Josiah, here comes more wickedness. You didn't even follow after your father. It's like naturally people wanted to do what was wrong instead of what was right. What Israel, the land, was supposed to be right. And remind me, y'all, about that land part, because you said something, and now it's coming back to my head. I wanted to clarify something that you said now that I thought about it. But I'll get back to that later. All right. And he did evil in the eyes of the Most High. Okay, just like I'm saying. And at that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came up against Jerusalem and the city and besieged it. The Most High sent them. All right. Okay, and then he took him prisoner. And he took from all the treasure of the house of the Most High and the treasure of the sovereigns, and he cut all the pieces of objects of gold which Solomon the sovereign of Israel had made in Hekal of the Most High as Yah had said. And he exiled all of Jerusalem and all the officers and all the mighty brave men, 10,000 exiles, and all the craftsmen dismissed. None remained except the poorest people of the land. I wonder, something popped in my head as I read that. I wonder, is these poorest people the remnant? Who knows? It doesn't say right here. I know earlier he said he was going to remove the remnant. Okay, and I wanted to bring up something I had said last week. Yeah, y'all's on the show now, so I wanted to see, because it was never answered. It was just me and Shema. It said we always think of the remnant as the people that did good, but the remnant was referred to as Judah at one point in the scriptures, and I could bring that up. Okay? So was this remnant still the people that did good, or was it just Judah? That's a question that I'll throw back out there. All right?
Can I hit something right now then?
Well, go ahead, because I ain't got but like one more. Yeah, go ahead. Because I ain't got much. There's only 20 verses, so that's why I have some questions, too, in the midst of it.
When you asked that question and I thought about it, I never thought about it like that. You know what I'm saying? I know people always talking about the remnant and this and that, but I think the remnant is those that's still in the land. And at this time, Judah was still in the land, and when you look back, when you look forward, you know I don't like to do this, but when you look forward and you look at the times of the New Testament, where we talk about Jesus, where was he at? And he said, he was in the land, and he said, I come for the lost tribe. So that means the lost tribe wasn't in the land. So that remnant back then was those that were still in Judea, which is Judah, the land of Judah, which was still in the land that the Most High gave them. So that's just something to think about.
But I'm going to go back to the scripture where he said Judah was his remnant. I'll probably find that maybe while y'all going through. And then just last week, he said he was going to remove the remnant. So to me, I'm always thought about the remnant being the people that's doing good, because sometimes if it wasn't from a remnant, blah, 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 So I'm at a question mark of, what is truly meant to sometimes. You know what I mean? More so because it might give me a light.
In the context of that, the remnant is those that was left in the land because he started moving them out their sight. He started with Israel. Judah was still there. So they was the remnant
they ain't got nothing to do with
Judah,
them doing
because
good.
some of Judah was getting removed too, but it was a remnant that was still left in the land.
Right. And now at this point, he removing them as the remnant as well.
Right. And it got nothing to do with them following the Most High and none of that. It just got to do with these little pieces of people that's still there. That's my question.
No, I was saying that I think that the remnant that Yediah is speaking of, they possibly were. But then at this point in this scripture that we just read,
I got definition for y'all.
At least in my chapter, I think that everybody started messing up or something. He said, now I'm going to include you too. I could be wrong. I'm just saying what it sounds like, so y'all take me, let me know what y'all think. I'm not sure.
Okay.
On that point, anyway.
Okay, so looking up with remnant in the Webster 1828. All right. First thing, so I want y'all to excuse me because I'm gonna use a analogy of my past time. Now we know all our past ain't peachy clean, and we see Hokmah in the queue. We're gonna let you in. All right. So it says remnant, contracted from remnant, see remain. Residue, that which is left after the separation, removal, or destruction of a part. The remnant that are left of the captivity. So, just with that being said, first thing, I don't know how many out there caught when I said residue. Okay, I'm going to use this analogy for those that have ever smoked weed in their life out of a bowl. Okay, when I say bowl, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I ain't talking about what you eat cereal out of. Okay, what they call the resin is what is left after all the weed nugget is gone and is caked up, and you scrape it all up and make another little ball and smoke the rest of that. So, it's those that was left after the Most High sent the people in to take the people captive. It's the people that is left over from the majority of the people as a whole. So it has to do with the captivity. That's what a remnant is, the leftover captives that are left in the land after everybody else got took away.
Right.
Okay, that gives
back to what
a greater understanding.
Back to what Yosef said, in that sense, it can be that there is not dealing with following laws there. It can possibly be that as well. In that case there, right? What Yosef was saying.
Yeah, so basically, basically the leftovers, that was left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they following the law or not.
Right.
They were just left behind,
Right, because at one point it was Judah that was left behind, and they might not have all been following the law. He just basically called them the remnant. So, okay. That's good stuff. Was that all that needs to be said, or I can move on? Or you want to let Sister Hawkman or what I want to do?
We can let Sis in. She's been waiting patiently for a minute.
All right.
You're live.
Good morning. I just wanted to respond or reply to when Yosef was speaking about the unforgivable sin. Did the scripture state what he did that was unforgivable? That's one of my questions. And then he also stated he'll never want to do something that the Father would never forgive you for. And do we know exactly what that is to say, I never would want to do that? But if you don't know what it is, then you never know that you did it or you didn't do it. And then my other thing is, like he stated, growing up through, going to church, no one ever said, there are some sins that the Father won't forgive you for except suicide. They say that's one sin you can never get forgiven for, suicide. Because I grew up really green, let's just say that, and was always afraid to do certain things because of my love for the Father. And then you go to church and they're like, oh, God forgive you for everything you do. Whatever you do, God will forgive you. So you start doing things like, oh, God will forgive me, because like Yosef has said, that people were willing to do wickedness instead of goodness. I don't know what it is about wickedness, but it feels good. Don't everybody can agree to some of the things you do. You be like, hey, I want to I know you know
it's
good. I mean, you do. I mean, just for real. So that's just the things I just wanted to speak on. You know, some of the brothers who know me, things that spark my interest, I do have things to speak on, and one of the things is basically grieving the Father or making him upset with me or my walk more than others. So that's just it.
Man, Yosef, please say what you said last week. Please tell me you remember your answer to the question she said. He said something last week to that one question you asked.
Okay,
I'll let you respond, Yosef.
Hold on. If you go ahead, remind me so
the
I
question
can.
About I ain't gonna say the answer. You can say the answer, but she said because you gave the answer, it was perfect last week. She said, "What did they do to be pardoned?" I guess that was a question in a sense. And you said the answer last week, bro.
What did they do to not be pardoned, or to not? Because our question to this week is, what did they do to not be forgiven? So
right,
I think, are you asking me like, okay, yeah, what did they do to not be forgiven? I can't give you the technical as far as what I said last week. I can't remember that, but I can tell you what this group of people did. As far as this group of people, as far as Manasseh, they was participating in straight idolatry. I mean, they had almost everything you could do, and they participated in everything that the other nations was doing. They was even worse than the following nation. And they said they practiced magic, divinations. You got to understand these laws that they was breaking. In the land, also, now, that goes, I must be wanting to say something about this. I must have to. In this land that the Most High had said, do not do this in, it's not the fact that he's accepting it in any other land, but it's even double worse in their land, okay? In the land that, you feel what I'm saying, in the land that's in there. You see what I'm saying? Like, all right, cool. Here go the Most High. Say, this is my land. Don't do all this stuff. Okay, don't do none of this stuff, and don't do it in this land. Okay? So here they go, defiling his temple, defiling his land, and doing exactly the opposite of what he said do. And in the place he said not to do it, because it defiles the land. All right? So here we go. He said, if you notice that it says, they put these things in the Most High house. That's what it said. Manasseh did. Okay? You brought this stuff into his house. Now, I'm going to get an example. My mama used to be like, man, don't bring that stuff to my house. Okay? Now, not no specific stuff, just any stuff. You know, she didn't want no drama at her house. She didn't want no drugs in her house. She didn't want nothing in her house. So that meant if I had beef with somebody, it better be down the street with somebody. All right? I just want to bring that to some personal level for people, you know what I'm saying? Or that, for some people, it might have been their mama, might have been their grandma. Okay? It goes the same way. The Most High got a spot where he's like, don't do this. I don't want you to do it, and I sure don't want you to do it here. And that's what they did. And not only did they do it, they rejected all the people that warned them not to do it. Okay? This is what this group of people did. Now, I can't remember what I said last week, but this is the answer to
you said this, bro, and I think this is the same people. You said this. Tell me if I'm wrong. He told them to take it down, and then he put it back up.
Oh yeah, that's exactly. That is another thing that Manasseh did.
Double thing.
Yeah,
that's a double whammy. I don't even. You're
right. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah. You got Hezekiah. Hezekiah did take all of it out. It said that Hezekiah took everything out. Manasseh went, like, he basically he had built it back up. Like, it wasn't like beforehand they was in the land, it was already there. So sometimes it's easier to do something that's just right in front of your face. But now you had to go through the extra effort to make it back in front of your face. That's for matter of fact, that means that it wasn't even there when you was born. You had to go inquire of other people to find out what was there. Just to make it even more disrespectful, I'm going to do it double and I'll do it worse than anybody that's ever done it beforehand. That's what made the Most High extra bad.
No, he didn't mean really take it down. He didn't really mean to take it down. We can put it back up. Man, please.
Right. What was my pop thinking about taking all this stuff down? So that's that. And another question as far as you said, how we know if it's not stated. Here's the thing that I know for a fact. He stated in this law, and we abide by that, like y'all say, the best of our ability on what we think it say. So that's what we do. Anything outside of that, you know what I mean? If it's not stated, because these things are stated that he did was evil, that's unforgivable. All right, I can find every law is on. Anything that's not stated, I cannot personally say that that's going to be unforgivable because you didn't even tell me I couldn't do it in the first place. I mean, you got to give me some instructions to follow. You know, it's already a lot. I'm trying to do these, and if you don't give me the instruction, I mean, it would be very unfair of anybody that got kids to punish your kids and you didn't even tell them not to go in the refrigerator. Okay? When you tell them not to go in the refrigerator, they go in the refrigerator, you whoop them. Or whatever you do, put them in the corner, you know, take away toys, whatever you do. But if I ain't saying nothing and you go in the refrigerator, I'm going to have to make an exception. Now I'm going to have to say, you know what, I ain't even tell you, but I'm going to tell you now. If that's something I don't want you to do, and because you go in the refrigerator, you close the refrigerator, you go in the living room, I slap you, and I walk back in the room. You like, what was that for? I ain't going to say nothing. Then you go in the refrigerator again, you go out, you do whatever you're going to do, and I wait 2 days later, and I slap you again. You're going to think I'm slapping you for no reason. Because you ain't got no instructions.
You picked the funniest analogy, boy. It's real though.
But that's as far as what they did, and that's as far as what can we do something unforgivable that he don't know. At this point, like I say, we learning, and this is why I believe, me personally, this is me speaking, this is why I believe grace and mercy comes in. As we're learning, we're going through his laws and trying to figure out what goes on, and we grow. As we grow, we try to grow more towards the Most High instead of away. So that would be, you know, that's why we're going over these scriptures right now. That's why we're trying to figure out what was the sins of Jeroboam. We find out the sins of Manasseh. We find out what is very serious, what is unforgivable at this point. So at this point, I'm not going to try to do no divinations, no practice, no magic. I'm not trying to build up no idols. I've seen this as be something. Also, I'm very skeptical about priests that are just something that was said, making your own priest. This was a sin of Jeroboam. And then you got somebody else coming in, making his own king. This is getting worse and worse. If y'all don't understand, Most High made kings, and it was appointed by the Most High. And the Most High had a set line of priesthood. These are your priests. Okay, these are the people acceptable. Everybody else isn't acceptable. We could tell because that was a sin that was repeated. I beat this dead horse. I'm not going to keep going over it. Just look up Jeroboam and his sins, because they repeat his sins for Israel, the tribes of Israel, for as long, and they stopped doing it because after they scattered them, but they kept repeating it. So that's that. And as far as, I don't know if she had anything else to say on, or did I answer your questions, or if any other brothers had something to say.
Well, I think you did a good job of answering her question. I mean, I don't know if she is satisfied, you know, for her, but I think it was a good job. I think also just just keep in mind that as a nation, and as a king of a nation, like, how it talks about in the New Testament how the teachers will be held like to a higher, I forgot how it goes. I ain't read it in a long time. But he is a king. He's held at a higher responsibility. This man went back and put back into motion something that was towed down by a righteous man. And how it talks about if the king don't do right, you got to go back. You got to remember all this stuff that was said by the Most High. He said if the king don't get it right, king and the people going to get punished because they asked for the king. So this king came and did the unthinkable. So it's not so much of he not forgiving them for what they did. It's just what he set in motion, he's not going to stop because he said he was going to do it, and he just, how you just get fed up. Have you ever? I know you got some boys, and sometimes I'm not. I don't know if you've said this, but I know some parents that said this. They say, "I'm gonna put you out," but they never put them out. And then you just at that point you get to you like, you know what? Get out.
Yeah.
I'm done playing with you. Get out my house. And then they be, Mama, I'm sorry, Mama. I did this. No, I don't care what you're saying. And they try to be good. You know what I'm saying? You like, I don't care. You get out. I said get out. What are you still doing in my house? They trying to watch the
start coming in.
They trying to watch
hold
the
that thought. People that's listening online, please call in at 516-595-8238. We are under the 3-minute mark, going into overtime. 516-595-8238. All right, yeah.
Yeah, so, that type of scenario, I done seen it, and you just, that straw to break the camel's back, and it's like, I'm not turning back. You know what I'm saying? Because it was times where he started to send people in, and then he reversed it. But now it's like, you know what I'm saying, your boy Menashe, yeah, he got y'all in big trouble.
He said, yeah.
You blame your boy Menashe for this. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was. So it was just like, I'm not turning back. But we also got to remember that he said once he remove them from the land, if they do right, he'll bring them back. So that's still on the table too. But the fact of him bringing them out the land, he hadn't done that yet. Like people had came in and oppressed them in the land, but he hadn't actually removed them and let people take them captive. And that's what we see going on right now.
Right, that is very deep. And this is something that he's saying, remember this. So if we go into a story where it's people in the land, we have to reflect backwards now to what was said, and this, that, and the other. That's why I started out with Nebuchadnezzar, because I know for a fact I was reading stories and seeing people inside of Israel later after this book. So it's not chronological the way the Bible was wrote. It kind of throws details into stories backwards. That's why it takes some real good studying, and then studying on top of studying, because you got to throw these stories back into the previous books to line them up. I don't know if anybody else got something. All I had was one more point, though. And then that was it. It was just, man, it wasn't even nothing big. It was in verse 20. But this took place in Jerusalem and Judah because of the displeasure of the Most High, until he cast them out from his presence. And Zedekiah rebelled against the sovereign of Babel. Oh, well, let me give you just a little bit more context of who Zedekiah. Okay, the uncle of Jehoiakim, Yehoiakim, that was his uncle. And the sovereign of Babel put him in there. His name was Madaniah, and they changed his name. All right, and it was something Yada said. That name change thing, I really didn't realize the power that it holds over you. It means I control even what you are looked at as. Okay? So if I technically made your name mean the one that sniffs boo-boo, you will be looked at as what? The one that sniffs boo-boo.
Hey, he's not lying, man. This is for real. Oh, man.
I'm so serious. I had to think of something I had to think of something so down in you. You know what I'm saying? Your name could be something of honor. You know what I'm saying? It could be something to make you a man of valor or something. And somebody comes in and takes over, and they call you Little Hand or something, and now everybody walking around calling you Little Hand. This is my man's Little Hand. And your hands is kind of big, right? So they're like, Little Hand, you know.
Man, we got another chapter, man.
I know. So that's what happened. His name was Madaniah, which is his uncle, and put him in his place. And now we see other kings setting up the kings that they want. This is also a dangerous thing. So somebody else is controlling how the Most High sets up His nation, and that's all I want. That's my main point. So that's all. Yeah, you got the flow.
All right, I'm going to go on and hit my points. What I wanted to do, I forgot about a question Shema had asked. It was in his chapter where it's talking about the common people. I'm going to just keep it 100. That's all I could do. That word common is not in there, so therefore it's like interpretation. It's a insert of a thought. So I can't really go and say, because it's B'nai Ha'am, I believe, was the phrase, which is construct of, sons or children of the people. So that common in there is not there. So it possibly could be because they, whoever wrote that saw it as a common thing for the people to act like that. You know what I'm saying? That's why they inserted that word right there, but that word is not there. So therefore, I can't really, I can only assume. Does it make sense? Possibly, yeah. Because it was a common thing for the people to be dealing with idol worship. So, yeah, but is it necessary to put common there? No. So, that's, he just sprinkled it on the people that was in the graves, because it talks about the idol worship before, and it talks about all the graves that was there, and he sprinkled the stuff on their grave, and then it goes on to talk about the one man of God that was there. He said, leave that alone and all this stuff like that. So in the context, you can see, I don't think the word common needs to be there. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take on that. You got any feedback on it before I move forward?
No. No, I agree because I have saw that Benai there too. Or Benai, one of the two. So I just thought it was interesting. That's why I asked.
Okay. All right, so he hit everything, man, really, especially on that Nebuchadnezzar, man. Like, when I saw that, I was like, hold up, because I remember when I first addressed the whole Yeshayahu thing. I was like, hold on, I ain't know Yeshayahu was back in these days. Then they talking about Nebuchadnezzar. We gotta know Daniel somewhere close. You know what I'm saying? So that means these two was like not too far apart. They era. You know what I'm saying? They may be a few generations from each other. So that means all this stuff was going on. All these prophets that we reading are not far from each other. It ain't like this happened, then years later this prophet came. Like, even when Shema talks about where he's talking about, you know, I'm the only prophet, and he's like, man, I got thousands of prophets or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the exact words. But he could have been talking about, them could have been also we talking about. The prophets we reading. All around the same era. That's going to shake the foundation. Because I never knew that until now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's a big nugget right there. He hit the, you know, again, that change name thing. And but then the next king, he did evil in the sight of the Lord. You know, and it say it came to pass in Jerusalem of Judea, this is the last verse, until he had cast them out of his presence. You know, so all this stuff that's going on is to get them out of his presence. You know how you tell a person, man, get out of my face. That's the Most High right now. Man, get out of my face. I don't want to see you no more. So that's all I got for that chapter. He hit everything. You got anything, Shema?
No. Go ahead and move along with your chapter.
All right, this is going to be short. This next chapter, pretty much same thing. We see Nebuchadnezzar besieges Jerusalem. So he moved in Jerusalem. I thought it was interesting. We saw this in the last chapter about these Chaldees. You know, the thing is, he had a mixed army. Like, basically, he had control of all these different armies, you know, that he would call to help him, like, as allies or whatever. And he would call them, and he sent all these different armies in on Jerusalem. So he was like a superpower. You know what I'm saying? Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom was like a superpower. Babylon was one of the superpowers, you know, kind of like how Rome was or whatever like that. So we get to see that during that time. So it's funny to me that the Chaldees are mentioned again. You know what I'm saying? Because we know that Abraham, he came from there when he left his people. And now these same people that he left is coming in on the people the Most High brought from him as a nation. What else? And the king, he got his eyes plucked out. They destroyed the temple. They actually burnt the house of the Lord. But when you go back and look at this, you keep going, you know, it's just basically going over when they came and controlled Jerusalem. So you have events going on. Now, the crazy thing that I had saw was that all right, he burned every great man's house. And so they just basically destroying. But this is what the Most High said was going to happen if they went in their land and act up. So he told them before they even went in. That's the whole thing. You know how you give somebody a brief before they go into somewhere, you be like, all right, we finna go up in here. You know what I'm saying? Don't be acting a fool, man, because these people, they'll do this, this, and that to you. You know what I'm saying? So keep it cool. Be cool, man. All right, you got it? Got it. Everything you say, I will do. You go up in that mug, and they get to acting a fool. And then the people do what they do to them. And you be like, I told you, man. That's how it was. So all this stuff, we can go back and read it again and say, yep, he did that, he did that. Because he even said he was going to destroy the land. What's up?
I just want to say all this happened because these fools wanted the king. Real talk. Let's keep it real. Like, these kings led these people out there. And the Most High told him, he said, y'all want a king? You rejected me as a king. He was hot. You rejected me as being your king. He wanted them to be like no other nation. He wanted them to be set apart. Set apart was not having a king. It was having the Most High and having a spokesman for the Most High, which would be the prophet. Now, the spokesman for your land is your king. And if that king does not, line up with the Most High, it runs punishment. So that's why we go into these kings, and it's like this king did this and this king did this, because it's the king that determines our fate. And the Most High said this would happen. Like you said, before he come into the land and everything, and woo-woo, they kind of got that. It was like, oh, let's get a king now. Yeah, he's like, hold on. Y'all want a king? Now, let me tell you about this king now. He's going to make y'all fight in his armies. He's going to make you do this. He's going to make you do that. You sure you want that? And then it was like the worst. Yeah, they got some good kings. But as I see, let's keep it 1,000. They got more bad kings than they got good ones. I can name right now off the top of my head 3 real good ones. That's all it's really named was real good ones. But I can name, I could just keep going down the list and show you how many kings did evil in the sight. And that's the reason why they got dispelled in the first place, because of what Manasseh did and what Jeroboam did. It was their decision to put these idols in there. It wasn't the people's. And didn't want to take too much. I don't take too much of your time. But that king thing is that's real with me right now.
Nah, you good, man. I ain't really got much left. Just the last part. The one that was actually in prison, he got released. And so, it just shows, how the king of Babylon, one of the kings of Babylon, let him out of prison, which he was actually the king of Judah, and he let him out. So how you a king over your people in prison? But anyway, he let him out and, gave him some new garments and set him up as a king. But at the end of the day, you still subject to Babylon. And I think that's very important to look at. You know what I'm saying? He might be treating you good. You know what I'm saying? He doing all that, which is good. That's fine. That's good. But at the same time, you still subject to this person.
NFL.
And this one, I got to go back because it hit me, so it must be meant for me to say. Last little nugget, man, when we talk about dominion, when I was talking about this name thing, it just keeps hitting me, man. But it's crazy. When you get a pet, who names the pet? You do. That means you own that pet. You that pet master. When you go back to the Bereshit account, Adam was given dominion. What did he do? Name all the animals. I'm done.
Yep. And that's why
pull
your
a
boy
Shabbat.
done
I'm done. I'm done.
I changed. Yep. I ain't even gonna say what I'm gonna say, but you did it. You did it.
Man, no. I'm gonna
ladies
say
and
something.
gentlemen,
They naming races. Hold on. They named the race of people. When they got dominion over, they named everything. They changed everything, and that's one of the things about taking over somewhere. When you take over somewhere, Yeti got me and him was having a conversation just about when people conquer, you even might change the language of what is spoken in the area. Now, people might still speak a little bit of language. Sometimes they merge languages. Like I said, you keep what's good and you throw out what's bad, and you just have a whole system set up the way that you had beforehand. And it changes the whole vernacular of everything that was going on before. Let's look at today. I mean, it was kings and queens one time, all right? And then when they came from England, they had queens and stuff like that. When they came over here, they were like, we abandoning all that. We got to set up another governmental rule. We got to set up another way of doing things. It was to separate themselves from the next person's way of doing things. And the only reason I'm kind of bringing this insight is because it's the same way now. Like now, we as a people of Israel, or people that's trying to be of Israel, or people that's just trying to follow the laws of the Most High, whether or not you Israel or not, you're trying to fall up under this covenant. We're on the same thing. We're saying to ourselves, you know what? I don't want to be governed by their rules. We got rules. Not saying that I'm in their government, I could run red lights. No, you'd be a fool to try to break their rules without having them punish you. Okay, but we saying we follow another set of rules that their government does not restrict me from, like pork, like Sabbath. They don't restrict me from doing that, but I have to do this because I'm not like them. Also, this is going back to the language. Okay? Going back to a language that was originally, not even got to be the ancient way, but the language that originally was spoken under the covenant that it was spoken under means something to us, to some of us. It's a separation of the oppression that we was put in. And I know some people want to say, he's going to give you a new language. All right? Hebrew is new to me.
Yeah. And that scripture not saying that, by the way. So go ahead.
Right. I was just bringing it out.
Like but that. I like the way you just said that right there, though. I like how you just said that.
But it is like when you learn a language. Matter of fact, how do you even say it? I'm trying to learn a new language. That language ain't brand new. It's a language. Okay. You didn't say you're trying to make a new language. Even when you explain it, I'm learning a new language. I'm learning another language. It's new to you. It's like if I buy a car, I got a new car. Is that the only person with that car? No. Dodge been made it, and a bunch of people been riding it. It's my new car. So he wouldn't establish something because Hebrew is very complex, but he wouldn't establish a complex language with sounds and the words mean stuff just to destroy the language, to reestablish a whole nother language because his language and what he established in the first place was perfect. Okay?
Right.
If it's perfect, there's no need to change it. Now, dialects and the way you pronounce something is totally different. I'm not going to get into that. That makes no difference to me, how you say something. Because we should still be able to communicate just like I'm from the Chi and Yeti Yah is from the South. He say stuff way differently from what I say stuff, but I can understand exactly what he say. When I say car, and I mean I'm jumping in the car, people laugh at that from other places like, you jumping in the car? No, I'm jumping in the car, bruh. And we about to go real far, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Point blank period, you understood that I said car and far. But somebody from the West Coast might say car and far. And somebody else might say, I'm jumping in the whip. It don't matter to me. So the oppression thing is real deep to me. And the whole, the changing of the name, the changing of the culture, they actually change your culture. This is another thing that I'm pointing out, okay? This is what they doing in this scripture. When you bring in another king. Okay, this is the king I want you to have. Why? Because I look at approve of him. This is the name I want him to have. Why? Because it means what I want him to have. And you know what? I'm going to take these people and I'm going to take them out of this land. It's a control factor. It controls you mentally too. If you understand the concept of mental control, if you're constantly being called by something that is not your name, if you constantly made to do a culture that is not your culture, you eventually understand where you're at, and you will subside to that because there's nothing you can do about it, right? And that's exactly what's happened to us as a people, a lot of people, is you constantly have put us in a system and you made us American. But in technicality, you made us lower American. Because when you go sign your paperwork out, they ask you your nationality. They don't ask you if you're American. They ask you if you're African American. And on some applications, it say black. All right? Neither one of those fit to an original nationality. All right? So, I'm sorry, I just, went down and I'm off my soapbox. I'm out of it. I did have only a couple things for this chapter, but Shemai, if you had something, I don't know.
No, go ahead. I'm going to just close it out when y'all done.
Okay, this was, hold on. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. Only 32 seconds. All right. What was the last thing you said, Yeah? What was the last chapter or verse you was talking about?
Oh, the last thing, like far as the verse goes, or the chapter?
Your last point.
I was just talking about how he let him out of prison. Jehoiakim.
Oh. Okay.
How he let Jehoiakim out of prison.
Oh, okay, and he gave him this little quota, so yeah, all right. Cool. So I wanted to say something, just a couple things. This is like history. This happened twice in history as far as with Israel. History repeating itself. And 3, it says, the night of the new moon, the scarcity of food became so severe in the city, there was no food to the people of the land. All right, I think I missed a part. In number 1, it says that the army came against Jerusalem and camped against it and built a siege wall all around. All right, this thing happened in Rome. They built a wall around Jerusalem. And there was a scarcity of food because the doggone people, we had a civil war going on, and they burnt the food in the storehouse, so people were starving, and people were trying to get out to go get food and stuff like that, was running out of food. And it stuck out to me because I read that in history. This is the way that if you had this in your book, you would know how they were defeated at one point. All you had to do is defeat them again. To defeat them again is kind of almost do the same thing. All right? Because it's hard for you to get out. You protected yourself. You entrenched yourself inside of a wall. And if I built another wall around it to where you can't really get out of your own wall, you might run out of food eventually. This is something, when I saw it, I was like, wow, they repeated history. Because Rome did do that. All right. Then the city wall was breached, and all the men in the battle fled at night by the way between two walls, which is by the sovereign's garden, even through the Kasdim, which still encamped around against the city, and the sovereign went by way of the desert plain. So, so some people escaped, all right? All right, and then in 7, and they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes and put out the eyes of Zedekiah. When somebody kill your kids in front of you, this is like supreme, what's the downing, you know what I mean? Not just like you kill my kid, you don't kill him in front of my eyes. Then that's the last thing you about to see. And I'm going to pluck your eyes out. People don't understand how torturous that is. It's crazy. All right? In 11 it says, and Nebuzaradan, the chief guard, took into exile the rest of the people who were left into the city, and deserters who deserted the sovereign of Babel with the rest of the multitude. And but the chief of the guard left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. They taking more people out. I just wanted to point out that, and then they leave some poor people into the land. So they only leaving the little people just to kind of subdued some land, vine dressers and farmers. All right? Majority of the people gone. And then in 21, I'm just going to my points. Sovereign Babel struck them and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So he exiled Judah from its own land. This is the exile of Judah. I'm just kind of beating the dead horse kind of because I keep repeating the same thing about them being exiled from their own land. I'm only doing this because, honestly, when we go into Isaiah, it's honestly going to go backwards. I promise you that. And they're going to be in the land at one point. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want nobody to be confused when I say this. At this point of what's going on with Nebuchadnezzar and Babel, they exiled from their own land, and it was only a small amount of people.
Hey, real
in there,
quick, ain't Ahaz in there too?
Yes. Yes.
Ahaz, we read about him a little while back.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I want to also understand. I want you to understand this, since you brought it up. Ahaz is in the book of Isaiah. And Hezekiah is in the book of Isaiah, right? So these are different kings in different times, right? And notice Isaiah is going to speak to these people. Go back to the scripture I said. He said, I spoke to them through the servants, the prophets, my servants. Okay? So throughout this time, because this is like a general thing, right? Here go Isaiah speaking, some other prophets speaking, and telling Israel, hey, we need to change, go back to these laws. So some of the stuff that they say to them is some of the stuff that the Most High said to them before they got exiled. That needs to be understood also, because I'm just not understanding this. You know what I'm saying? He spoke to them, and he said it. I spoke to you, and I'm sitting there reading like, when did he speak to him? I ain't saying too many prophets, right? Like, if I was just to read, I'm like, okay, he said he spoke to him, so we must be missing something. No, we ain't missing nothing. It's coming up. You just got to start now. It's come plug and play. Real talk. And we're going to get to that, like I say, when we get there. Yeah, I think that's all I had. Yep. That's all I had. You touched on, you know what I'm saying, the other stuff. So, my bad. It was just a couple little things I wanted to make sure I pointed out while we're going forth, because, at this point, we will reflect back to 1st and 2nd Kings. Hopefully I can remember everywhere that things are put. If not, I'm pretty sure that I could try to find it, you know what I mean? Because this will be very important going forth. I'll repeat that like as a test. It will be very important going forth, remembering what king and what goes on and what was said. Because this could be the determining factor in everything that we believe. From any side, I don't care what side you on. You know what I'm saying? If it don't line up, we got to get rid of it. If it do line up, we got to keep it, point blank, period. Or we were choosing to believe what we want to believe and not what the scripture said. And like these brothers could tell you, oh, I'm so glad now about this land thing. He said, I think he's seeing what I'm saying. I'm going to say what I see, period. I do stuff for remembrance, all right? I do it because it's part of my forefathers, it's part of my culture, of what I believe is my culture. I know for a fact I cannot do Passover the way it's instructed in that book. I am not in that land, and I cannot do it 100%. But he has mercy, and he observes, he is acceptable of what I do. I don't know. I will continue to do it because it's remembrance. I will continue to do it because I believe. But I cannot say that I do it 100% like it's supposed to be done, because I am not where it's supposed to be done, and I'm not doing exactly what it says to be done, period. And nobody in America, unless you're traveling over there and you got Levitical priests that's going to take your offerings and you bring in the right offerings, nobody is, period. So do I know if it's acceptable to him or not? I don't know. We're learning. At this point, I do it because of remembrance. I'm going to continue to do it for remembrance. Unless I see otherwise, where he say, if you do this and it's not right, it's a sin, then at that point, I'm not going to do it because I'd rather not sin than sin, period. So that's where I'm at. And I know probably he was like, that's kind of like what he's kind of seeing, and that's a, so that's all, man. That's all I got. Yeah, you got it.
All right. Well, this is a good show, interesting show. Going to allow the brothers to, do we have anybody in the queue? Anybody want to say anything, comments, anything of that nature? If not, I do have one thing I want to read. Going parallel or aligned to what was said about 10 minutes ago now, I want to say. And it goes a little something like this. By Lord Macaulay's address to the British Parliament on 2nd February, 1835. I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief, such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage, and therefore I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, for if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation. I must say they have been successful. With that said, if you all have anything else, I'll send it to you. But it's by Lord Macaulay's address to the British Parliament. This was February 2nd, 1835. Yeah, okay. Man, this reminds you of like something Willie Lynch did, that they've been studying and plotting for a long time way back then. But anyway, you all can close out on whatever you all want to say, and then I'll close us out in prayer.
All right, I'll just go first. Man, this show right here was pretty heavy, man. It wasn't even a lot of stuff, but it was just the details of it all. I mean, this show, I had to walk away and meditate on and really think. But a lot of this stuff gonna come back up in the next show, which is the reunion show. This is an invite to everybody right now. You don't want to miss this show. This is where we go over everything pretty much of this season, season 2, and kind of recap and kind of gauge where we were and where we are now from the beginning of the season to now, kind of go over some of the things that we said we was going to do. For those that, I know we got 2 people that has prior military background on here right now. Basically, it's an AAR, After Action Review of the season. So that's what it is. You don't want to miss it. We would love your participation because the people that been here with us through the season, we want to hear from y'all. So if you could, please attend and please, participate. We want to hear feedback. We want to hear if we need to change something. We want to hear if we need to keep something. I'm very excited for it. This is a informal invite right now, but I will create the event. Also, I'm a little bit behind on the YouTube videos due to, traveling and stuff like that. I haven't had a lot of time, but I did get one of them up. I got 2 more to do, but everything should be caught up by the time the next season start. So that's all I got. Thank you all for tuning in today, and Most High willing, we'll be back here again next week.
Yep, this is Brother Yourself. And I want to say it was a great show. A lot of stuff came out. I promise you, it's so much more that came out than I thought would come out. It sparked my mindset to a lot of stuff. And seeing how they treat people when they take over, that was something that I didn't expect. These are conversations that I like to carry on between brothers, and I know this is probably sometimes not the format for it. That's why sometimes we get on the soapbox, and sometimes I express a little bit more, but whatever. This is somewhat the time, but not really. We will be going, I promise you this, the next season is going to be different as far as, for me personally, and as far as for us as a group of people, or as far as for us as panel members and stuff like that. We're going to try to keep getting more organized as we go along. So if anybody was with us from the beginning, they understand that we've come a long way. We've switched some things up. And, yes, we do want to hear from you guys, even if it's just to say that y'all like it. Y'all like the way it's changed. We like the old way better. Can you implement this? This is type of stuff that people that have been here, and even if you're just coming in, you might not understand what these people are saying. So it's not to single other people out, but it's that they can give us more of an insight on what they've seen, because they've seen changes. I mean, the first show was bananas. And we, like I say, we've changed a lot. We've come a long way, and even in our understanding. So we also would like to know how you understand it. So start thinking about this type of stuff. And I'll probably put something up in a minute in the Talk One's Talk group about some of this stuff, so you can have a week to think about. Maybe some things that your mindset has changed, some things that you learned. We want to see if this progression has it been fruitful for you, or has it been in vain? And if it has not been fruitful, maybe it could be a helpful hint on how to make it fruitful. This is something that we're trying to dedicate our time to on the Shabbat, you know what I mean? And we would like to hear from you guys. We always talking. And this is the invitation, even if you do listen to it online back, this will be the time that we would love for you to say, hey, I listen online. I don't have a time to really come on like that, but I just want to say something. That's another thing that could be said. And then rolling forward, and I'm going to put this out there. There's not that many people, but I'm going to continue to put this out there. We get into Isaiah. This is not for debate. This is for facts, okay? This is not for opinions. This is for facts. I do hold an opinion, always. But when facts come out, anybody that's known me, I'm going to change for the facts. So if you got facts, bring them. If not, we have to set them emotions aside. Even my emotions aside to say, you know what? I see this now. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I do want to give the people that do listen a week to gather some information to give back to us, to be a participation of the show. And even if you have not been here, you could still be participation in the show and, say, hey, I like it, I don't like it. You're not going to hurt any of our feelings. That's all I got. I just wanted to throw that out there as far as that information. And shalom, shalom. I will put this post into the Talk One's Talk group, and that's it. All right.
All right, everyone. We appreciate you, and clear your minds. I'm going to press out. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another Shabbat to fellowship. We appreciate you continuing to open our eyes and our heart to your word. Appreciate you for continuing to strengthen
our faith, our belief through your word, through the consistency of your scripture, through the consistency of the context and the cultural understanding. We ask that you continue to help us grow and develop out of babes, and continue to develop in age in comparison to growing in your word. We ask that you continue to pour your spirit on us and allow us to not only operate on this show collectively as a Mishpachai's family, but to do so outside, touch others with the way that we walk. We ask that you lead us, you protect us, and you also give us a kind heart for others to reel them into the faith, which is the one that you gave to Israel and our forefathers back there. We ask that you just protect us and you don't let any harm come upon us, your faithful ones. We ask these things in your beloved name, we pray. Amen.